Welcome to Jack of all Trades 505. This is your host Joseph. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. This piece was a commission piece that I from a local here in Farmington that wanted to get this picture painted of him and his dad at a local spot here in Farmington that does fishing, and it's near Navajo Dam. Now at first the customer had wanted some initial changes to the original painting, but before I started, just decided he wanted to try to create it as close to the, or try to recreate the photo as close as possible. So that's what I went ahead and did. Here I'm using several, the main colors that I use for the skin tone is going to be a burnt umber, reduced with, or buffered with white. If you're unfamiliar with colored buffer theory, I would suggest taking Drew Blair's color buffer theory course. This is a very good course on color theory. It definitely will give you greater insight into color, how we perceive color, and what is perceived as natural color, I guess, or true colors. The white canvas on the background at first makes their faces look really dark, and then as you start to go and add some of the darker tones, you notice that the skin tone isn't as dark as it initially appears. Here you will notice that there's been some jump in progress. Like on one figure's face, it had started on his face, and next you know the entire head's done. Here the phones stopped sending signal to my computer for whatever reason, so I started on the shirt, disappeared for a while. When we come back, the shirt's practically done. So here on the pants, I am using a Payne's Gray. This does have a blue tint to the color, so it is actually really good for a dark denim color. Then just illustration black. All these colors, well, most of the colors that I use are actually illustration colors. I do use a regular Createx colors sand. This is just a transparent color in their Createx airbrush colors line. I did go ahead and mix that with some of the illustration transparent base just to give it a little bit more erasability. And then again, I do reduce all the illustration paints using distilled water. The water does help with the breakdown of the paint and make it a little bit more erasable. This canvas is well, it was triple primed from, I guess, the factory, but I went ahead and added probably about 3 or 4 more layers of gesso myself, with using a spray gun to get it as flat and even as possible. This does make for a very nice racing surface. I do use an electric eraser, dowels, sometimes even a X-Acto knife to scrape away certain details or erase away details. But mainly I try to use just freehand shields and airbrush control to prevent overspray. I don't use really masks or fine line tape. I used a little bit of masking tape at one point, and this is just for one part of the sign. And you'll see a reason why I don't like to use masking tape later on. So anyway, here we've gone ahead. The main colors that I was using for his jacket were moss green, there's sepia, and black. Those are the main colors that you would find in his jacket. Then cerulean blue, cobalt blue, and of course Payne's gray to darken the second figure's jeans. Here you'll notice that there is a jump in progress where I had started the shadows underneath the truck, and all of a sudden we jump and all the tires are done, and most of the shadows underneath the truck are completely rendered. So again, I apologize. One of these days I'll get my recording practices and equipment and everything nailed down and working properly, so that way I can stop having these issues with loss in coverage or loss in footage. Here you'll notice several times that that my hairdo, clothing will change, even the airbrush, because this painting took, you know, I was able to do 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 hours, you know, here and there over about a month. In total, it took about 12 hours to complete this painting. And so the main airbrush that I use for the majority of this painting is the GSI Krios PS270. This is a 0.2 millimeter airbrush. I did use the Master Airbrush G48 for a short portion, and I will actually also utilize a Iwata Eclipse HPBS. These are, aside from the Master Airbrush, the PS270s and the Iwata Eclipse are, they were 3 airbrushes that I had just purchased from a gentleman that is a member of my Facebook group for airbrushing. He was selling them and at a really good price, so I picked them up, and I decided to use them to try to paint a painting, to break them in and really test their capabilities. So again, here we just I've moved on to the kind of foreground. We did go ahead and spray in some Payne's gray and black using a homemade texture stencil to kind of render out the gravel that they're standing on. Used a tan with burnt umber mixed in, mixture for kind of the rocks in the foreground and the building just behind the first figure's head. Here you'll notice that I am using the Eclipse just for because I had other colors loaded in the PS270, medium gray, and the sand color. So that's why I went ahead and utilized the Eclipse just for small sections of black. Here again, because the color is similar to the skin tones and because the burnt umber is added in there, I did go ahead and use that to tone in the hands, because I did forget to tone those in earlier. Here, going with an initial blocking in of the building, its tonal values and kind of shapes. I do go ahead and add a little bit more burnt umber to the mixture and then darken in some of the darker shadows. Again, try to be careful as much as possible to protect for overspray. Use freehand shields when possible. Here, I did go ahead and add about a drop or two of black to that same mixture of the burnt umber and sand. This did create almost an espresso or walnut color, depending on how heavily you spray it in. And using this for the vigas and the poles of the motel itself. Again, you'll notice that I use certain freehand shields for certain parts. Other parts I try to freehand. Again, whatever you're comfortable with, it's, you know, practice. If you're not comfortable freehanding it, you know, use a template. There's no problem with that. It's not so much in what tools you use to create an image. It's ultimately the end result. Here, the door to the hotel, I did go ahead and that color is just a burnt sienna sprayed straight in. Here I've gone ahead and shifted my attention towards the color of the truck. This is a mixture of turquoise and illustration colors, turquoise and cerulean blue, to shift it more away from the green and a little bit more blue than just pure turquoise. Again, trying to vary the concentration of to achieve dimension and tone, shape, by spraying in, you know, in various concentrations. Near the back of the bed, you saw the color that I sprayed in there is actually a sepia. And this to get that brownish, greenish kind of rust appearance in the bed of the truck. Did use a medium gray for the grill area and black. And again, here just utilizing freehand shields, spraying very lightly to give the appearance of the color showing through the glass. And yeah, just really just spraying in lightly. Don't you know, your tonal values are going to come from your concentrations of color in one area. As they shift towards the light, they'll lighten up, and as they shift away from the light, they'll darken. And that's just basically, you know, the trick of creating a three-dimensional, making an image look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional surface. So again, here I utilize the electric eraser to kind of pull out the white of the surface to create the lettering on the boat. Now, this is the section where I do utilize the masking tape to create a border for the sign to create the sharp edges. I do utilize a freehand shield just to kind of block in and give me my clean edges of the letters. Block lettering is probably the simpler of the lettering to do, but again, I'm not the biggest fan of lettering, so this is always a challenge for me. Here I did just add about another drop of black to this mixture to darken it up for the side of the sign that is farthest away from the light source. Here you'll notice the overspray that was created. Anytime that you're spraying pretty heavily, you know, if you don't want the overspray, protect, use, you know, masking paper and tape out beyond where you're spraying, at least, as you can see how far out the overspray traveled, almost to the edge of the canvas. So again, if you don't want overspray, control how much spray you're letting out. I did try to cover these oversprays directly with paint, and notice that the harsh lines were still there, so I used the electric eraser to break up the harshness of the lines, and to just give them a little more random shape. You will notice that the color is slightly darker than, say, the color in the vehicle or the boat. I did run out of my initial mixture, and when I tried to remix it, I did go a little bit dark, and instead of adding cerulean blue to the turquoise, I think I may have accidentally added cobalt blue, and that's why it is noticeably darker than the original mixture for the vehicle or the boat. So I think just when continuing with that, I added a couple more drops of black to that same mixture for the top section where Abe's for Abe's name, and you'll notice that there was some highlights that I erased in the letters of the motel. These are the I guess neon tubes that make up the sign of the for the hotel itself. I'm going through now on Abe's, erasing those highlights, and I did spray in just straight cobalt or cerulean blue for the sky. Again, I think maybe I may have gone a little dark with the cerulean blue, and that was only because I was trying to cover that initial mixture that I had made that was more blue-green, and just trying to correct, mistakes. Again, this is, custom painting, freehand. So sometimes, things are not going to be perfect. Here, we did the background. This was sepia and moss green, and then just a touch or two of black to darken it up for the shadows. And now the final detail, which is the sign on the door of the vehicle, which is a trout and Abe's Fly Shop. Here I started to write out the letters, and they were not exactly what was in the photograph. You could not make out the entire city and state, and so I needed to keep it true to form, and erased it and went back. Here you notice that I did sign the painting. I thought I was done, but I wasn't completely satisfied with that sky, so I did go back in and finish it up, and this is the end of the painting. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and join me in the next one. Thanks, and have a good day.